Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Maureen Harvey, and I am the worship associate today. My pronouns are she, hers. I am a short, older woman with a lopsided gray hairdo, and I'm wearing blue. Welcome, everyone. This hour is an opportunity for reflection and to open ourselves up to encounter the sacred. I'm glad to be a member here because having a set time each week where I intentionally slow down and give myself space for renewal nourishes my spirit and fortifies me for the challenges ahead. Thank you to our team of volunteers and staff who make Sunday mornings possible. Welcome to our online participants on YouTube. Please introduce yourself to each other in the chat. If possible, check in at one you see on your favorite social media platform to share this experience with your friends. Then please silence your mobile phones or other devices that might distract us for the next hour. We always have fun events for people for every age and interest, and I'd like to point out the Chalice Camp is coming up the first week in June. It's a great opportunity to get the kids away from the screens and out into nature. And of course, today we are having an all-church potluck, a feast, and everyone is invited whether you brought food or not. Also, I have a special announcement. If it's not raining, the Gardening Covenant group will sell plants at half price or make an offer in the courtyard. If it is raining, they still have some Mother's Day pots for sale, and they're in Daniel Hall, so you can do your last-minute shopping. More information about events is available in the order of service, the weekly newsletter, or on our website. We strive to share information, staying informed about community life is a shared responsibility. If you are not yet on our email list, please use the QR code in the order of service to sign up. If you are online, you can sign up under the newcomers section of our website. At this time, let's take a short moment to turn to greet the folks sitting near you. Thank you for helping create the warm welcome of this community. After the service, please stick around to continue your conversation over lunch. The flowers on the altar table this morning were donated by Nancy Kane, dedicated to all the mothers that ever were. Without them, none of us would be here today. And now, Sandra Flansburgh is going to come up with a special announcement.
Good morning. Ooh, sorry about that. I'm Sandra Flansburgh, president of the congregation this year, and I use pronouns she, her, and hers. It's my pleasure. One of the joys of serving in leadership in this congregation is that we get to make awards recognizing people for the wonderful service that they give to the church each year. Our Member of the Year Award is presented to one or more members of the congregation to recognize their outstanding service to or on behalf of First Unitarian Church during the current church year. This is an award that our Board of Trustees decides on and makes. And I am so pleased to present this year's award to an extremely deserving member. Jessica Lothrop, would you please come up? Jessica has led our Girl Scout troop for I don't know how many years, but many, and is forever, is starting a Scouting America group, co-chairs the family ministry team, coordinates family game nights, organized our solstice celebration, is starting a CUPS chapter, Covenant of You Pagans, is an active leader and volunteer with RE, including organizing the Undercover Unitarian Initiative this year, Club Time, and directing Chalice Camp last year. No, this year too. So, Jessica. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, Jessica Lothrop, thank you for being Member of the Year, and we have some flowers for you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you are watching from home, we invite you to light a candle or chalice as we light our chalice here. This morning, the chalice will be lit by Francis Smith and Lee Southmaid. We light our chalice in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on land that was home to first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. May this flame we light remind us that every one of us can bring the light of love to the world. May this clear flame be a symbol that every heart can burn bright with joy, peace, and harmony. May the wisdom of ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing to the world. Please join me in reading our covenant. The words can be found in the order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Kent. I'm a tallish, middle-aged white man with curly brown hair, wearing a black clergy robe and a purple stole with a chalice embroidered on it. From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another. Generation to generation, we awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark, a life cannot begin without the air, and we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. In this spirit, let us join together in worship. Our opening hymn together is an oldie but a goodie that you love. O life that maketh all things new. It's number 12 in your gray hymnals. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join in singing. So, Kate, hang on one second. Would our youth like to head out to their classes early? Let's do that. Okay, Kate, take it away. Yeah. I'd like to invite you all to join me for a short time of prayer, or whatever you call that quiet connection with that part of you. Spirit of life, Mother God, what a morning, what a day, what a life. This Mother's Day, as we gather in the storm that brings both life and destruction, we're reminded of the perpetual growth and change that shape us. For those who are afraid or seeking shelter from the storm, just a moment of respite, may grace be found. And for those who have the courage and fortitude to keep building the world we dream about, may they be sustained and strengthened by your love. Together, may we bear witness to the power of creation, healing, and generous love. That power bigger than we could know or even properly name is what brought us this far on our journeys, whatever they may be. Amen. Our time for all ages, I'm going to adapt a little bit, but it's still really good information, both for those of us who are new to Unitarian Universalism, or some of this I just learned this week myself. I wanted to spend a little bit of time introducing our chalice in general as a symbol, as well as our beautiful sculpture chalice in particular. The Unitarian chalice was created by the Unitarian Service Committee when it was doing important work helping refugees escape Europe during World War II. Because those refugees spoke many, many different languages, it became clear that they needed a symbol that could be recognized without a common language. So they commissioned the artist Hans Deutsch to create a symbol that would work for that. Deutsch himself was also a refugee from Austria. He first fled to France and then to Portugal, where his German didn't do him a lot of good in that Portuguese-speaking country. The original symbol that he drew was a simple chalice with a circle around it. The Unitarian Service Committee was able to use that on their paperwork and around Europe as they were introducing themselves to let people know who didn't speak English that these were safe folks. This is who they were looking for. Many years later, the Unitarians and the Universalists joined together to form the Unitarian Universalist Association. At that point, a second ring was added to that symbol that you see up here. So we have two circles now for our Unitarian Universalist chalice, both interconnected, symbolizing the interconnection of all people. If you've looked closely at our chalice, you might have noticed that it's a little bit off-center in our logo. That comes from our Universalist Christian roots. Long before the Unitarians came up with a chalice, Universalist Christians used an off-centered cross as their symbol. So we put our main symbol off to one side as a reminder that we always leave room for others, and there is always room for more in Unitarian Universalism. But what about the chalice up here on our altar table? This is what I learned this week. One of our church members, Ginger Summerfruit, yes, that is her real name, paid to have an artist sculpt this. It was made about 25 years ago by the artist Mordecai Roth. He created a couple hundred of these bronze chalices. The last picture in our slideshow up here is Mordecai Roth lighting one of his own chalice sculptures at General Assembly. This probably looks like a very familiar chalice. I bet you didn't know that it's the same sculptor that did ours up here. So if anyone is interested, if you haven't seen our chalice up close, you are welcome anytime after the service to come up front to get a closer look. Or if you want to light it one Sunday, let me know and we can arrange that. I also wanted to tag in, the chalice is a symbol of learning and care and love and hope and freedom and light, which is why we have named our camp after our chalice. Chalice Camp starts June 1st. We are hoping to get registrations in as early as possible so we can plan and organize as successfully as possible. So sign up your kiddos for Chalice Camp. And we're not going, well, let's sing off a couple of our kids. Yeah. We're going to sing Go Now in Peace, and we wish you well in your club time, and we'll see you in a little bit. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
One of my first experiences with the First Unitarian Church was attending Robbers Cave Retreat in 1988. Scott and I were dating, and my daughter Mariette was 8 years old. We stayed in a cabin with Celeste and her family and the Canes. We got ready to go to sleep, and I went to the dining hall to get my daughter a glass of milk, and that's where I experienced the magic. The hall was crowded with musicians and people playing games, working puzzles, visiting, and listening and singing to the music. After I took Mariette her milk, I went back to join the fun, and I'll never forget sitting among the group in a state of mesmeration, singing along to the City of New Orleans. I made two friends that evening, Jan Green and Anne-Marie Grassman. The following Robbers Cave, I watched The Last Temptation of Christ. The story was that Dan Eddy, after whom the Eddy Room is named, sued the cable company because they refused to show the movie, and Martin Scorsese's got wind of it and sent Dan Eddy a copy. I may have been the only person watching it at that time, but there were folks around me getting ready for dinner, and Nancy Kane, who was cleaning the tables, looked at me and said, "Has Jesus died for my sins yet?" And I thought, wow, you can say that? I was impressed. I still felt like an outsider, but I kept coming back to see what else would happen. And for the last 38 years, I have not been disappointed. Generosity is a spiritual practice that we embrace every Sunday when we take an offering. All the cash and designated checks are distributed directly to an external nonprofit organization doing good work in the world. This month, our Change for Change partner is the Community Response Network of Oklahoma. This group was nominated by Sandra Flansburgh, and she's going to tell us more about them.
I won't touch it this time. I first heard about Community Response Network last year when Tara Jordan De Lara at Latitude Legal told me that they were making a strategic shift from Know Your Rights workshops with immigrants to free legal clinics. And we're coordinating with a new group called Community Response Network. I soon met some of their founders, and from that day, I have really stood in awe of those young leaders. They have deep roots in the community and a firsthand understanding of the impact of cruel immigration policies. And they have developed initiatives and done the real work of helping their community. Over and over, they've seen a need and dived in to address it. I've volunteered with them for legal clinics, gotten rapid response training along with a number of 1UCers, and volunteer weekly with The Landing, answering phone calls from people who are trying to find their loved ones who have been detained and wanting to know what's going to happen to them. I nominated CRN as this month's Change for Change partner because I'm still in awe of this one-year-old organization. They are doing the work with a lot of passion and knowledge and very few resources. If we could raise $3,000 through our Change for Change this month, it would be a huge impact. Right here in Oklahoma City, helping young Latino leaders do the work that they know needs done in their community, as well as teaching us how to help in culturally appropriate ways. So please dig deep and give whatever you can. And if you would like to talk more about CRN, please grab me sometime, and I'd love to talk about them. Thank you.
As we enjoy the offertory music, our ushers will pass the offering plate in the sanctuary. Online, you can make a gift through the 1UC website or send a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change on the memo line. Would the ushers please come forward and receive the offering?
I want to pause before our reading to share some news that most of you have heard by now and probably received by email. After 6 years of service at First Unitarian Church of Oklahoma City, Tim Atkins will no longer be on staff as our Director of Religious Education. Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. We appreciate his many contributions over the years, and we wish him well on his next steps. Other staff members and lay leaders will be stepping forward to keep our vibrant youth and child programs moving forward. Please be patient. We'll be working together to bridge this time of transition as smoothly as possible. Also, we're recruiting for summertime religious education teachers, so keep an eye out for an email offering those opportunities. Now, we know this news has already been, and maybe in this moment, an unsettling surprise for some folks. Please continue to treat each other with patience and grace as some of our different feelings surface in this moment. If you'd like to talk through your concern, you're welcome to talk with me or with Sandra Flansburgh, our president. We can't provide many details about employment issues, but we are glad and available to listen to what's going on for you. Our reading today comes from Dr. Frank Holmes in a sermon that he preached from this pulpit in 1948, shortly after starting his ministry at First Unitarian. He says, "Our supreme need today is for a vision of life in religious terms, in terms of great meaning and great hope. We have been shocked by our discovery of the capacity in people for cruelty and irrationality. We have broken the atom and uncovered nuclear energy. We've also become more enthusiastic than ever before in such things as education and democracy and social equality. Now we need a vision of life which will take account of these things and interpret them in terms of meaning and of hope, which we can follow in the face of all evil with courage, with confidence, and even with gaiety. We need ideas about humanity and God and nature, about destiny and the aim of life, which are honestly related to our experience, which are in harmony with scientific intelligence. Then, when we have these ideas which we can honestly believe, we'll be able to reach out toward the poetic and religious vision of the world. We can do this only as we are members of a worshiping community and are so sincere in our concern that we'll join our friends in the search." Here ends the reading.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops, that's where you'll find me. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds
Would you join me for just a few breaths of silence in this busy week, in this beautiful and fraught day that is Mother's Day? Let us take a few moments of silence together. Namaste. Amen. Shalom, and blessed be. No one comes into the world of their own making. We have great cause to think with gratitude of all those who have birthed, nurtured, helped, supported, and mothered us in ways great and small. Similarly, in a religious community, we step into a tradition that's been unfolding for thousands, probably tens of thousands of years. Today, we acknowledge the heritage that we inherit here in this church. As we know, Oklahoma City was born in a very unusual way in a single day. On April 22nd, 1889, it was settled by land-hungry pioneers, people of every sort from all around the world, who staked their claims to homestead acreage. Among those first settlers was a Unitarian family. Just 3 years later, in 1892, the Avery family invited a minister, Reverend C.H. Rogers from Boston, to come and conduct a funeral service. After the funeral, Reverend Rogers stuck around and gathered a handful of Unitarians and religious liberals into a group. They obtained a charter of incorporation for All Souls Unitarian Parish in September of 1893. There are no records of how that church really operated, but there are records at our state capitol proving the birth with the charter of this church. And there are records with the American Unitarian Association showing the church was functioning. Apparently in 1894, Reverend Rogers was the populous candidate for the territorial synod back in the day. I guess this community's commitment to pursuing the common good and our civic engagement go all the way back to the beginnings. Over the years, the community grew and shrank, a few times shrinking almost to the point of disappearing. In the early 1900s, there was some back and forth between being Unitarian or Universalist. This was 60 years before the merger of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And finally, in 1907, they called their first settled minister, Dr. Walter C. Pierce, a Unitarian, which seems to have sealed the deal that this would in fact be a Unitarian congregation. Early in 1913, the church's name was changed from All Souls to First Unitarian Church of Oklahoma City. 3 years later, in 1916, they bought their first building, a former Presbyterian church that they took out a huge loan for from the Unitarian Association to purchase for the whopping price of $9,000. On May 16, 1916, the First Unitarian Church of Oklahoma City received its Articles of Incorporation. So we Sooners are not great at being clear about where the starting line begins. Either we were 137 years old back in April, or we will be 110 years old on Saturday. At a certain point, though, who's counting? From those earliest days unfolds quite a saga of this congregation. It's a little odd to be leading a service about the heritage of a congregation just 10 months into my ministry here. Over these 10 months, I've listened closely to understand what unfolded here in recent decades. I've learned a lot from those oral histories. What started as passionate telling of facts began to weave and tangle with other facts. I got a picture of the various chapters, each with many, many different layers. Perhaps what I've learned most clearly is how partial and limited any individual's story is of the past. I heard stories of staff transitions and building details, stories of legal challenges, financial struggles, and worship practices. Each person saw something slightly different, or even contradictory sometimes, from their own perspective. I don't believe that any version that I heard was misleading or even wrong. What became clear is that multiple pieces of a story can be true at the same time. The short glimpse of our earliest history that I talked about at the beginning of this sermon comes from the big blue book that you've probably seen, 100 Years of Upstart Unitarianism in the Bible Belt. It was published in 1991. You may have seen the book floating around. Until recently, it was given to new members as a gift. Now, recording a concise written history gravitates toward big events, the changes, and especially the controversies, the numbers and the dates. It's hard to escape that tendency when you're recording history. A couple of sentences jumped out at me. This was not an intentional summary of the history, but for me it captured the tone of the book. On page 34 it says, "Thus, dissatisfaction with the minister and money problems seem to be the two major tension creators with First Unitarian Church. Sometimes, though, the minister became dissatisfied with his parishioners." You see why it's no longer offered as a gift to new members. The focus on shortcomings and controversy does not paint a flattering picture. The book does record those big institutional changes, and it documents the financial struggles in detail. What it doesn't share as much is the deep trust, generosity, and love among members. That is the true heritage of this church, of any church. Without deeply rooted relationships and tremendous generosity of finance and of spirit, this church would not be standing here 137 years later. This book is a great asset, but as people of a liberal religion, we all know that we will not be defined by a single book. There are so many more complex, interesting, interwoven stories. More and more in church life, I find myself using the idiom, "it takes two to tango." Or in the case of church, it takes 240. Any single observer may see one particularly flashy moment of that dance, but capturing the complete, beautiful picture is an ongoing and imperfect project that we can only do well together. Today, I wanted to share with you a few bits of that dance that may have been forgotten or unnoticed. We'll hear from some of the long-standing members about their memories of this community, and I offer these somewhat in chronological order. David Moore says, quote, "I grew up in the church during the 1950s and 60s. I quit coming to church when I went to college in 1968. I started attending again when Carrie and I met in 2006. These are my memories of church. My father, Robert Moore, was the organist and choir director. My mother, Elaine, was the director of religious education and directed a very accomplished junior choir. The organ was the predecessor to the current organ and was a two-manual Reuter pipe organ. Unlike today, the organ console faced the choir so that my father could conduct and play the organ at the same time. He must have had an extra arm. The church was very different in appearance at the time. All of the windows, including the large window above the altar, were covered in a deep, dark red curtain. The carpet was also the same deep red, as were the cushions in the pews. The choir robes were the same red color. The whole ambiance was very formal. All of the men and boys wore coats and ties to church, and the women and girls wore dresses or suits. Raymond Ford was the head usher, and he ran a tight ship. He recruited men and high school boys to be ushers. There were no women ushers. All ushers had to wear a dark suit, white shirt, and dark tie. The ushers directed congregants to their seats, starting at the front and working their way to the back, handing an order of service to each of them as they sat. The longtime minister, Dr. Frank Holmes, was an imposing figure, and things generally went his way. The education wing was built when I was in grade school. In the late 60s, Dr. Holmes retired and Bruce Clary became the minister. I don't remember much about his tenure. Various members of the congregation served as assistant ministers during the services, but they had no pastoral duties or training. "O life that maketh all things new," that hymn that we just sang, was the processional hymn every single Sunday. And the Lord's Prayer was recited during every service. There was a 10 a.m. forum in the meeting room every Sunday in Daniel Hall before the 11 o'clock service and coffee hour after. This was interesting. The Unitarians and Universalists merged in 1961 to form the Unitarian Universalist Association. I don't remember any discussion of the merger or any changes in the church during that time. Church school classes began at 10 o'clock every Sunday morning, followed by chapel services at 11. The chapel was decorated in the same dark red as the sanctuary. Each chapel service included hymns and readings. There was a guest speaker, and a high school student was selected to help lead the service. There were two youth groups, a junior and senior high, LRY, which stood for Liberal Religious Youth. There was a ladies' alliance, which at that time was mostly a social group. Lastly, he says, I remember smoke everywhere. The chapel and the sanctuary were the only smoke-free areas. During the forum meetings and the coffee hour, it looked like Daniel Hall was on fire. Even the church school teachers smoked during class. David shares, as a personal memory, was his introduction to the guitar. When I was 14, a member of Dad's choir, Richard Alton, played guitar and sang folk and spiritual songs. He was very good, and I was impressed. He had just bought a better guitar for himself and let me use his old silver-tone guitar from Sears. He even gave me a few lessons. I took off from there and developed a lifelong love of the guitar. If it had not been for Mr. Alton, I probably would never have picked up the guitar and would have deprived myself of 50 years of playing in various groups and occasionally here at church. Thank you, David, for sharing with us those memories. Kathy Neiswanger, when I asked her, shared memories of how the church extended itself to help the wider world. Sometime during the 1970s, she says, Ann Hardy was a social worker and member of the congregation. She founded a parents' assistance program to help serve families involved with the family court system. Many parents had been court-ordered to attend parenting classes. The goal of the parents' assistance program was to keep families together safely. Anne believed that parenting is a learned skill and that all parents need help at some point, and I want to repeat that on this Mother's Day. Anne believed that parenting is a learned skill and that all parents need help at some point. She saw a gap in the services provided to parents where abuse and neglect had occurred in the home. So our church agreed to provide meeting space for the program, and church members volunteered to help. Anne taught parenting classes upstairs, and the volunteers helped take care of the kids downstairs. Kathy volunteered in that program and remembers it fondly. She remembers it as an intense experience with occasional drama. Some parents resented having to be there, and some of the kids were a little confused or unhappy, but overall it was a rewarding experience. The program grew and eventually moved to its own dedicated location, and it lives on today as its own independent organization. Kathy also remembers in the late 1980s when we opened our doors to an organization that wanted to have support group for people living with AIDS. It was, at that point, a pretty controversial decision. The congregation together decided to host that gathering that happened in the Corley Commons for several years. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing those memories. The next one that I wanted to share was from Jean McLaughlin and her memories of this congregation being incredible hosts. She writes that during Reverend Dick Allen's ministry in the late 80s and early 90s, we hosted the Unitarian Universalist Southwest District Spring Conference for over 100 guests. Kathy and a bunch of great volunteers made that happen. She remembers that Patsy Goddard was the wonderful registrar who took all of those registrations by telephone and helped them arrange for places to stay either in nearby hotels or with members of the congregation in their home. She says we also set about making the church look good. Ron Wasson was around back then helping people paint and find what needed fixin'. So a team set out to paint all of the meeting rooms. She says the church was mostly responsible for entertainment and hospitality. Lois Allen, just a few days ago, recalled the choir performing a Woody Guthrie concert on Friday night. It was a big hit that led to invitations to perform that same concert at neighboring congregations. They also organized a river cruise on the Oklahoma River, which was a brand new and I guess very fun experience for those who went on that little adventure, followed by a dinner at the Cowboy Hall of Fame. Jean says she wishes she could remember the names of all of the volunteers that chipped in for that incredible hosting experience, but she recognizes it's one of the things that we have always done well, is hosting and having fun. Finally, I want to quickly report on the saga of our building from Ron Wasson. This short history gives me a whole new respect for how this place has been glued together over the years. Ron says that one night in August of 2007, we received 8 inches of rain one night. The next morning in the sanctuary, a 5-foot diameter piece of plaster in the balcony ceiling had fallen onto the floor. Investigation revealed major leaks in the steeple, so volunteers sprung into action. 10 or 12 people gathered to fix the ceiling and climbed up into that steeple, rebuilding 2 rickety ladders inside the steeple. The ringleaders were Chris West and Bob Petrie. We even saw Gordon Green wielding a handsaw. A group of talented volunteers stepped into action because, as Ron says, that is what we do. During the same time, planning was underway for a huge capital improvement around 2009 to 2010. That was spearheaded by Bernice Kane. My God, you're sitting together at church this morning. Bernice Kane, John Snyder, Chris Lopez, and Pat Corley. The project included the installation of the elevator, the new HVAC system, the AV system, major renovations to Daniel Hall, the sanctuary, the chapel, and the basement now named Corley Commons. During those renovations, worship services were held in Daniel Hall, and I guess parking was very difficult, but we adjusted. The project cost was about $1.5 million and was funded by some incredibly generous donors within the congregation, because that is what we do. Another campaign launched the creation of our building capital fund, another wildly successful fundraising campaign. That capital fund still exists today based on what was started in 2014. This is where we start looking forward. What's next? This may be news for you. We'll have a new driveway around the church in conjunction with the Villa Teresa project construction that you see going on over there. We've launched a major heating and cooling project, which hopefully will be going this fall. Ron says completed, I'm going to say going. Eventually, that project will replace all of the HVAC systems throughout the building. Most of the project's funding has already been provided by a very generous donor. I say a singular, very generous donor. There will be some disruptions and maybe some difficulty parking, but I know we will adapt, because as Ron says, that is what we do. So Ron, Jean, Kathy, David, thank you for sharing your memories with us this morning. I know I have a much better understanding and appreciation for the heritage of this incredible institution that we have all, no matter how long we've been here, we have all inherited. No one comes into the world completely of their own making. We have great cause to think with gratitude of all those who have given, listened, taught, led, and supported us here in ways great and small. Amen. Our closing hymn today is in your green hymnals. It's number 1051, We Are. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join in singing.
We extinguish the chalice with these words from Alice Walker. To acknowledge our ancestors means we are aware that we did not make ourselves, that the line stretches all the way back, perhaps to God or to gods. We remember them because it is an easy thing to forget that we are not the first to suffer, rebel, fight, love, and die. The grace with which we embrace life, in spite of the pain, the sorrows, is always a measure of what has gone before.
The benediction I share today comes from the Reverend Erica Hewitt. If you're comfortable, I invite you to take the hand of the people near you for just a moment. It's okay if you don't want to. The hand in yours belongs to a person whose heart is sometimes tender, whose skin is sometimes thin, whose eyes sometimes fill with tears, and whose laughter is a beautiful sound. The hand that you're holding belongs to a person who's seeking wholeness and trusts that you are doing the same. As we leave this sanctuary, may our hearts remain open, may our voices stay strong, and may our hands remain outreached. Friends, go in peace. Let the light within you be a blessing to the world.